Thank you very much. To Caroline, and good morning to everybody. I would have wanted to comment on the first input about the economic outlook and the figures that were shared with us regarding the growth of economies in Africa, because I think it is the availability of resources that enable governments to be able to spend money in the areas such as water, sanitation, poverty alleviation, and other social development issues. So it's an area that I would have wanted to dwell on much more if we had the time. But you want to know what do we think about the presentation? I think I've looked at the report personally, and I think the observations made in this report, most of it true, depending on where you look. If you look at the issues that they are raising, the issues of lack of integrated management, resource strategies, lack of proper maintenance, lack of resources, planning the budget in order to spend on water and sanitation. You can even go to the extent of saying that we don't ring-fence that budget, so it gets spent in many other ways. So I would say the observations are correct, but I think for us today, the biggest thing to do is to ask the question whether Africa is going to be able to meet these goals, and how is it going to be able to meet these goals. Unfortunately, I've been made to speak first, and where we stand as South Africa, we have actually met the MDGs. We went ahead as the government and decided to put very ambitious targets for ourselves insofar as access to basic water and access to a decent form of sanitation by our people. So our targets are much more closer than the MDGs. So next year we expect that every South African would have access to clean drinking water. And we do have a standard that we have set for ourselves to say this is the level of standard that must be provided. Anything below that is not acceptable. There's a whole history around the RDP levels of standard. We have said to ourselves 2010, every South African, irrespective of where they are, should have access to basic sanitation services. We have set ourselves targets to get to schools by the end of 2009, and to make sure that all our clinics by the end of this year have got water and sanitation. Now, the challenge is really in trying to meet the targets is to make sure that we work as a team, both from national, provincial, and local, because in our country we have devolved the responsibility of provision of services to the local level. And the difficulty is really just one of capacity at that level. Very critical, I think, to make sure that there's political will, right from the top, from the president to the ministers in charge of the portfolio, to the premiers of the provinces, to the mayors of the local municipalities where the water is to be provided. Whether the problems faced by Africa are one of political commitment, I wouldn't say, but I can just say that our experience is that you need that commitment. You need the minister in charge and the president to put water and sanitation right at the top of the agenda, because in that way, you also need buy-in from ministers of finance that need to buy in and allocate the resources that are necessary. I think I'll leave it at that so that my co-panelists can also have a say on this issue. Sorry, this is my